Hi, my name is Nelson. I'm a master's level intern here at the counseling program at Arizona State University. And I'm really glad you booked a session. I was hoping to have a conversation today.
Hi, Nelson. My name is David. I'm really unsure about having this session, but I'm going to look forward to getting somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. Therapy is a really big jump, right? It's a very scary thing, especially to certain kinds of homes and different kind of backgrounds. If you had to maybe put like a label on your culture, what would you kind of identify that as?
Well, my culture, majority of my family and everything, we're Vietnamese,
Hmm.
and we come from Ho Chi Minh City, and we moved here to the States when I was really young. So spent some time in Austin, Texas, and finally moved to Phoenix, Arizona with my family.
Oh, okay. So you've been kind of bouncing around a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. How you liking Arizona?
It's a good place. Majority, I think, has to do with being around my family,
Yeah.
having my family close by and being able to talk and be with them. That the place really doesn't matter.
Yeah. You got some really good supports in the home. Okay. Do you live like with any of your family members or are they just kind of close by?
No, at the moment I don't. I live in an apartment with my significant other,
Mm-hmm.
um, mine, and but I do have family that is really close by, not maybe like down the street or down the hallway.
Oh yeah. Okay. So pretty close by. Sounds like you kind of just drop by. It's not like driving 3 hours to go see mom and dad. That's really
Definitely.
awesome. Okay. Now, you mentioned, wanting, a little nervous to start this process. What were you hoping to get out of it?
I'm hoping to, I guess, understand why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling.
Hmm.
Why I can't seem to get out of what feels to be like a hole, kind
Hmm.
of worthlessness, hopelessness, just in another term, I guess, like quicksand, struggling to get up but not getting very far.
Yeah, and that's a really big thing to kind of sit with, that anxiety, that worry, especially when it comes around to, these things that are causing these stressors. What is one of the things that is, causing this kind of feeling of, wow, this will never end?
Just the pandemic
Hmm.
and the isolation that came from the pandemic.
Hmm.
It, even though it is over, I don't feel like everything feels different. Everything feels like it's changed, but it never really went back to what it was.
Yeah, it was a big jump, and it's a scary thing that kind of that happened to a lot of people, and that kind of uncertainty of will this happen again has really just kind of led to a place where it's hard to envision that it can end. Do you find it difficult maybe to get out of your house or kind of do the things that you need to do?
I do. Sometimes it becomes difficult to get out of bed, even find the motivation to do things
Hmm.
because it feels kind of like a worthlessness at one point to what's the point of doing it? They showed me kind of a glimpse into the loss of the parents
Hmm.
situation because I've had them around for so long and then all of a sudden they're gone and
Yeah.
I can't be there with them. I can't be close with them. And just it made it harder and harder with their health and the pandemic and everything else.
Yeah. And it is hard to go out because you don't want to hurt those that you're close to. And it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot of anxiety, it's a lot of fear. And you definitely don't want to hurt other people. You don't want to hurt those you're close to because they are good supports for you. And sounds like, you want to get to therapy, correct me if I'm wrong, you want to get into some therapy, maybe help, develop some coping skills, some ways to kind of mentally reframe this so that it becomes less of a this will never change and I'm constantly in danger to a yeah, this was a terrible experience that happened, but it's something that did end.
What are coping skills?
Coping skills, here's how I like to say it is a lot of people use coping skills every day without ever knowing, you know, if you never put a label on it, right? So a lot of times it's things that you do either mentally or physically to kind of help reset yourself. I'll use an example. Sometimes, when I'm stressed, I like to play video games. That's my jam. That's what really helps take my mind off of things. So, maybe what are some activities that you do right now that or maybe not right now, but in the past that have just really taken all of, you know, everything going on and you just focus on that one activity.
One activity that I used to take a lot of time in, I believe, was guitar. I
Hmm.
used to love and enjoy playing guitar, not just for myself, but for others.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I since put it away and hasn't really seen much point to playing. Although I do find myself going to, I identify as a Buddhist, so I do go to temple, and
Hmm.
there has been a few occasions where I have played for the nuns and the monks at the temple,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it makes me feel at ease.
Hmm. Yeah. The guitar is one of the things that, it takes a lot of coordination with your hands, with your ears, when, eyes reading. And so that's a really good distraction technique. And that would be like a coping skill. I kind of want to expand on, you mentioned faith is really important to you. Have you have you gone through faith every week, or has it been something that's just, kind of dropped off since all this happened?
Just before and as well now, it's just I kind of try to maintain going at least once a week to have it as a stable part of my life.
Hmm.
Just something to lean on. There are a lot of practices that my culture is into because, to deal with situations like feeling how I am. It led me here because they don't seem to be working very well.
Yeah. Okay. Now, have you ever, gone to doctor, got like a diagnosis of any kind of mental health, like depression, anxiety, PTSD?
I did at one point go to a doctor, not a psychiatrist, but my primary care did diagnose me with depression at some point and did put me on medication.
Okay. Yeah. You know, Mm. you mentioned a depression diagnosis. One thing I always like to ask is, do you agree with that?
No one, the doctor or anybody else, has really explained to me
Mhm.
what it means.
Yeah.
It was given to me as a word.
Okay. Yeah. Just kind of put you in a box, didn't really give you much explanation. It's like, okay, well, apparently I have this, but, I don't know how to manage it. With that, did you get prescribed any type of medication?
Yes, I don't recall the medication I was taking
Hmm.
or the dosage. However, I do know that I took it for about 3 weeks and then I stopped.
Okay. Why did you stop?
I just didn't feel any different. I didn't feel like it was doing anything.
Hmm.
If anything, I felt like maybe it made things worse.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned Vietnamese, Buddhism, having these big culture impacts. Was there any type of like, you know, alternative to medication that maybe you use culturally that, like a PCP or a primary care doctor wouldn't quite understand.
I mean, your my culture is known for holistic medicine, such as maybe acupuncture has worked in
Mhm.
some ways in the past for me. We do a lot of circulation techniques, just to kind of move the body, move the blood flow, make things kind of relax and feel better. But no, nothing like that is offered through my primary care.
Yeah. Okay. So, they don't quite understand, your culture, your belief, where you stand. And, it sounds like medication is not a good fit. A lot of times medication it's really hit or miss. A little psychoeducation is that, you know, medication is never designed to cure the issue, right? That's how I like to pitch it. It's used in conjunction. It can take the highs and the lows out of things, but you know, it never fully, it's not like you take a magic pill. And so, maybe we could work on utilizing some coping skills, some, kind of different mindsets through these sessions in conjunction with your kind of holistic kind of herbal healing acupuncture, and really find a treatment path that works for you. Get you out of that, hey, I'm in this box, this is what I should do, and more of a, this is what I need to do to help myself.
And everything that we talk about and everything that you come up with, it stays with us. Like my family is not going to find out with anybody outside of this room.
Yeah, here's the thing, your privacy is definitely top tier, right? That is my biggest concern. I won't ever talk to anybody unless you give me written reason or
I
written.
don't think my family will understand.
Yeah. And this is one of those things that I always pitch this. This is something you're going through. You're more than welcome to involve anybody you want, right? But ultimately, it's your decision. I'm never going to get in the way of that, right? So, sounds like, at least initially, working on, you know, trying to get out of the house more, trying to deal with that anxiety and that fear. Maybe understanding a depression diagnosis, what that entails, and if it truly fits. You know,
And I do want to feel happy more. I want to feel, I want to get back the old energy I used to have that I no longer seem to have.
Yeah. You want to get back to, I always say that, perfect vision of yourself is, I want to get back
Yes.
there. That person that was playing guitar, going out with friends, you know. And I like to pitch it. It's not that you're not that person, right? You went through something traumatic that nobody should have to go through. And so it's important to realize that you're still you, right? But it's just finding out how to work through these things. Okay, it sounds like treatment. We can maybe learn how to improve our mood, how to improve anxiety, fear, understanding a depression diagnosis, and utilizing our supports and our culture to really have a complete healing journey.
It's just it's been really, really hard and I miss doing dinners with the family and playing video games with my brother and just I did tell my significant other about my diagnosis, but at the same time still didn't entirely sit well with me. Yeah, I think I was still nervous about what she may think about me
Yeah, you know
if
what?
she would share that information with somebody else.
Mm, yeah, and that
Mm.
kind of that's the thing with like mental health diagnosis. There's a lot of stigma behind it. There's a lot of negative stuff out there, right? But here's what I'll say is, you are not your diagnosis, right? You are you. That could explain some symptoms, maybe some motivation, lack of motivation, right? But that's not who you are as a whole. And so, sitting down in these sessions, maybe working on getting back to that, getting to that end goal of, being more comfortable with the girlfriend, or at least knowing how to navigate that, you know, and then being really, getting back to being with your family, which is super important to you, and being able to be social again. And these things are going to take time, but you seeked out services, you got that big goal, and let's figure out a way to support you to get to that goal.
I mean, I'm willing to try, depending on what you have in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, let's explore that, Let's explore maybe understanding or diagnosis first and going from there. Okay.